Hi, welcome to Poems by Yas. This is episode 29. Today's topic is called Lucky Tree. That's the poem that I'll share, and I'll talk about benefits of trees and how it helps us breathe better because trees help produce oxygen and absorb carbon dioxide. It helps decrease the pollution that we have. It also prevents soil erosion, which can prevent earthquakes, and it's really good for our environment to have so many trees. But I'm also going to tell interesting stories. The first story is a love story because James and Sofia, they met when they were kids. James's father built a tree house between two oak trees in his backyard. Stay tuned for that story, and I'll tell you about one of the world's largest tree houses that took 15 years to build. And I'll share a story about a couple from Cleveland that had no trees in their backyard, so they came up with the idea of planting one tree for each grandchild, and they just finished planting their 8th tree. But first, let's start with my poem called Lucky Tree. Look up and behold, you will see the lucky tree grow. The long tree trunk standing so tall, but the true height nobody really knows. The old and wise tree watching over people in the land beneath. We can only think of the memories we have of our favorite tree in our past. Trees are a part of our earth, and we need them for fresh air and to help our ozone layer. Don't advocate to cut down the precious trees that we really need. The first story I'm going to tell you is about James and Sofia. James did have nightmares about trees, and he had a fear of heights of trees, so this tree house wasn't directly built on the trees, but there were two oak trees, and his father built a tree house between the oak trees. And the oak trees were so nice because they also had lilac bushes in the backyard that were really good, and his parents helped him decorate the interior of the tree house. So he met Sofia when he was a young kid, and they lived close to each other, so they always played together in the tree house. When they were really best friends, and they were inseparable, and they got married, and they had a beautiful wedding in his backyard near that tree house and the oak tree, so it was very significant for them. That's where they had their wedding pictures. And later on, now 50 years later, they're still married and they're very happy, and that oak tree is a very significant memory for them. So sometimes trees can give us good memories because we can think back to a memory we have of a special tree we have in our life. If you do have a special tree in your life that has significance, I'd like to hear about it. Write it in the comment section. In 1993, a minister had a vision that he needed to build a large tree house. He claims that God told him to build the tree house. He didn't spend much on it. It was $12,000, and mainly recycled material was used for the tree house, and there were so many volunteers that helped, but it took at least 15 years to build. It was 97 stories high and supported by 6 oak trees, and it had approximately 90 rooms, so it was very massive, and it was in the Guinness World Record. And he was a religious man, so he had a sanctuary, an area to pray, a church inside the home, and from a distance you could see the word Jesus on the house. In 2013, a couple in Cleveland came up with the idea to plant trees in their backyard because they bought a house that had no trees. And Bob, he was a landscaper, so it was a great idea to make their backyard so beautiful with one tree to represent each grandchild, so they can have so much love in their home for each tree that represents each child that came into the family, because trees grow over time and so does a family. How much timber does it take to make a ton of paper? It takes 2 tons of timber to make a ton of paper, but did you know if you use recycled paper, you can save 15 trees? Trees are everywhere sometimes, except in the city. Sometimes they cut down so many trees and we don't have as much. And trees are helpful and beneficial because it can help decrease air pollution and help us breathe better because it helps produce oxygen. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of Poems by Yas. Next week, my topic is called the Orient, and I'm going to share some stories about ancient traditions. So join me next Sunday.